If your biggest priority while buying a smartphone is battery life, then chances are you have already come across these two phones. On one side, I have the newly launched Poco M8 Power with its massive 8000 mAh battery, and on the other is Motorola G77 Power, packing a slightly smaller 7000 mAh battery but promising a more balanced experience with a Sony sensor, clean software, and Motorola's signature design philosophy. So, which one actually makes more sense? Should you simply go for the bigger battery, or is the Moto G77 Power the better overall smartphone? Well, I have spent enough time with both devices, tested them at our Digit Test Labs, ran benchmarks, played games, checked the displays, cameras and battery life. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one deserves your money. But before I jump into it, if you are new here, I'm Siddharth Malhotra and you're watching Digit, where we bring you detailed, no-nonsense gadget reviews and comparisons. Let's begin with the design, because although both phones belong to the Power series category, they offer very different experience in hand. Both are heavy smartphones, which isn't surprising considering the massive batteries inside. The Poco M8 Power weighs 225 grams, while the Moto G77 Power comes in slightly lighter at around 210 grams. Even though neither phone is compact, the Moto feels better balanced, whereas the Poco immediately feels bulkier and is noticeably harder to use with one hand. Motorola also has the edge in terms of materials. The vegan leather finish on the Moto G77 Power not only looks more premium but also offers excellent grip, and during my 2 weeks of usage, I never really felt the need to put a case on it. The Poco sticks to a plastic back panel. It feels sturdy enough, but it doesn't quite have that premium feel. On the front, both phones are protected by Gorilla Glass 7i, so durability isn't a deal breaker. I dropped this phone accidentally from the cupboard and it shattered from the top left. Now talking about protection, the Poco comes with an IP65 rating, while the Moto gets IP64 certification along with military standard 8-turn OH, making it slightly more reassuring for everyday wear and tear. But as I said, I broke the display. So one thing I didn't enjoy on the Poco was the haptics. They produce a slightly hollow vibration that doesn't feel very refined, whereas Motorola's implementation feels much cleaner. Moving to the display, and this is probably the biggest difference between these two phones after the battery. The Poco M8 Power features a 6.9-inch AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate, while the Moto G77 Power comes with a slightly smaller 6.72-inch Full HD Plus LCD panel, also supporting 120Hz refresh rate. Watching content on both phones immediately highlights the difference. The Poco's AMOLED panel delivers deeper blacks, richer colors and better contrast, making Netflix and Prime Video look much more immersive. Brightness is another area where the Poco comfortably pulls ahead. Motorola claims 1050 nits of peak brightness, and in our Digit Test Labs we measured 1040 nits, which is almost exactly what the company promises. Outdoor visibility is decent, although under Delhi's harsh afternoon sun, I had to squint my eyes. The Poco M8 Power claims 1800 nits, and our testing recorded 1780 nits. That extra brightness is immediately noticeable outdoors, and during my usage, I never had an issue reading the display under direct sunlight. Now coming to color accuracy, the Moto G77 Power recorded an average delta E of 1.54 along with 97.3 color gamut coverage, making it the more color accurate display. The Poco M8 Power meanwhile achieved 99.87% color gamut coverage, although its average delta E came in at 3.5. Now let's move on to performance. The Poco M8 Power is the first device launched in India which is powered by the Snapdragon 4 Gen 4 chipset, while the Moto G77 Power uses the MediaTek Dimensity 6400 paired with 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM. Looking at the benchmark numbers, the Poco clearly comes out ahead. In Antutu, the Poco scored 6.27 lakhs compared to 5.60 lakhs on the Moto. Geekbench tells the same story. The Poco recorded 905 in single core and 2158 in multi-core, while the Moto managed 816 and 1262 respectively. In a CPU throttling test, both phones performed similarly. The Poco maintained 86% of its peak performance, while the Moto had 87%, so thermal stability is almost identical. On paper, the Poco is clearly the faster phone, but benchmarks don't always tell the complete story. During everyday usage, both phones handled social media, messaging, YouTube and web browsing comfortably. The difference comes in the software optimization. The Poco occasionally showed minor UI jitters while opening apps or navigating through the interface, largely because of its slower UFS 2.2 storage. The Moto G77 part, despite having lower benchmark scores, actually felt smoother during daily usage. Animations remained consistent, scrolling was fluid, and I rarely noticed any stutters. Gaming is fairly similar on both devices. Neither phone is built for hardcore gamers, but both can comfortably handle casual gaming. Now let's talk about the biggest reason why someone would even consider these two phones: the battery. On paper, the Poco M8 Power immediately grabs attention with its massive 8000 mAh battery, while the Moto G77 Power comes with a slightly smaller 7000 mAh cell. Both are designed for users who hate carrying a charger, but the real question is, does that extra 1000 mAh actually make a noticeably difference? During my usage, the answer was yes. The Poco M8 Power simply refused to die. Even after a full day of gaming, YouTube, Netflix and social media scrolling, I still had battery left by the end of the day. On lighter usage, I was comfortably getting around 1.5 days, and if you are someone who doesn't game much, stretching it close to 2 days isn't very difficult. The Moto G77 Power also impressed me. During a normal workday with calls, Instagram, YouTube and messaging, I still ended up the day with around 40 to 50% battery remaining. On lighter days, I even skipped charging altogether and still had over 30% left by next evening. In terms of charging, the Poco supports 45-watt charging, and charging its massive 8000 mAh battery from 0 to 100% took me 1 hour and 43 minutes. The Moto G77 Power supports 30-watt turbo power charging, and despite having a smaller battery, it reached 0 to 100% in around 1 hour and 40 minutes. The Poco takes the lead with 22.5-watt reverse wired charging, making it useful for charging another smartphone or accessories. The Moto offers 6-watt reverse wired charging, which is enough for earbuds or an emergency top-up for another device. Now let's move on to the cameras. The Poco M8 Power comes with a 50-megapixel primary camera paired with a depth sensor, while selfies are handled by an 8-megapixel front camera. The Moto G77 Power offers a much more versatile setup with a 50-megapixel Sony Latia 600 primary sensor, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera and a 32-megapixel selfie camera. Starting with daylight photography, the Poco consistently captures sharper and more detailed images. Colors look natural without being overly saturated. However, Moto images retain good dynamic range. There were a few instances where Motorola slightly overprocessed images, making them look a bit softer. Portrait mode is another area where both phones occasionally struggles with edge detection, but the Poco still delivers cleaner subject separation. As you can see in this picture, it blurred the glasses as well. And the Poco has a more natural looking bokeh effect. Motorola also gives you an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera, allowing you to capture landscape and group shots, something the Poco simply doesn't offer. The Moto G77 Power's 32-megapixel front camera captures noticeably sharper images with much better facial details. The Poco's 8-megapixel selfie camera gets the job done, but selfies often appear softer and colors again lean towards the warmer side. Moving on to software. Both phones come with Android 16 out of the box, but they take completely different approaches. The Poco M8 Power runs HyperOS 3.0, which comes loaded with features like Circle to Search, AI Magic Eraser Pro and Hyper Island. These AI tools work well, and Poco also promises 4 years of Android updates with 6 years of security patches, which is excellent for long-term users. The downside is that I did notice occasional UI stutters while opening the app drawer and scrolling through the interface. There's also some pre-installed bloatware, although most of it can be removed. The Moto G77 Power runs Hello UI, which remains one of the cleanest Android experience in this segment. The interface feels close to stock Android, animations feel smooth, and during my entire testing period, I didn't notice any major stutters. Motorola also includes useful features like Moto Actions, Ready For, and Attentive Display, all of which genuinely improve the user experience without making the software feel cluttered. So, which one should you buy? It really depends on what you value most. If battery life is your biggest priority, the Poco M8 Power stands out with its larger 8000 mAh battery, brighter AMOLED display, stronger benchmark performance and faster reverse charging. It's the better choice if you want maximum endurance. The Moto G77 Power, however, offers a more balanced overall experience. It has a cleaner software experience, smoother day-to-day performance, a more versatile camera system, better selfies and a more premium design. The good news is that both phones deliver excellent battery life, so you won't go wrong with either. Your choice ultimately comes down to whether you prioritize longer battery life and performance or a more refined everyday smartphone experience. So that's been my comparison between the Poco M8 Power and Moto G77 Power. Let me know in the comments which one you would pick, and if you found this useful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Digit. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.